3 more speed cameras taken down and damaged. It makes at least 20 so far this month. Good afternoon. The speed cameras have been targeted by vandals once again.
2 cameras along Avenue Road and 1 on Mount Pleasant were cut down last night, the latest in a spree of destruction. CTV's Janice Golding has been following the story and joins us live with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Natalie. Yes, the war on speed cameras continues with 3 more of the devices chopped down in our city overnight. As you mentioned, 2 of the devices are on Avenue. Another was on Mount Pleasant. And this is in addition to the 16 that were cut down on September the 9th. And of course, the infamous Parkside Drive camera that was sawed off for the 7th time on September the 7th. The grand total, 20 cameras damaged in 2 weeks. Now, last week, police said officers will be increasing their presence around targeted areas and that they'd increase resources to respond to the problem. Meanwhile, Premier Doug Ford also spoke out about the cameras, calling them a tax grab he'd like to do away with. Here's more from law enforcement experts as well as area residents this morning.
From a police leadership perspective, we see technologies, and I'm going to include both ASEs, the other radar recording signs that I mentioned, red light cameras and CCTV as technologies that have been proven to be effective tools.
They absolutely work because they hold drivers accountable, and if there's no risk of getting caught, people roll the dice. The chance of being caught by a police officer is a lot lower than the guarantee of a ticket if you're breaking the law.
You think they could design the poles a little better so they couldn't cut them down?
I guess it's someone that keeps getting caught, so I sort of understand that, but it's wrong, obviously.
Well, I'm not a big fan of speed cameras, that's for sure.
The mayor, meanwhile, tells CTV News that it is working with the vendor to try to enhance security systems on the speed enforcement cameras, as well as working with Toronto police in order to increase enforcement and surveillance. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to you, Nathan and Natalie.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Turning now to Durham region, where police have disrupted an auto theft trafficking ring.
Dubbed Project Egypt, the investigation has resulted in several arrests and 100 charges. CTV Sean Leithong is live at Durham Regional Police Headquarters with more details. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Natalie, according to Durham Regional Police, Project Egypt began last June when police got wind of an organized crime group that was moving from Quebec and into Ontario in order to steal cars. Now, they said they executed a search warrant actually in Peel region on Wednesday, September 17th, and it was there that they managed to arrest 5 people and brought them in without incident. Those people all facing charges at this point, where they say beyond that, they were able to recover 8 vehicles and identify 25 vehicles in total that had had their VIN numbers changed. They say many of the vehicles were actually destined for container ships to go overseas, and that the criminals were using these to move the vehicles, using the thefts to move the vehicles to Quebec first and then get them in those container ships. I spoke to Constable Nick Gluckstein from Durham Regional Police a little while ago, and here's what he had to say.
They had been coming into Ontario to commit these auto thefts. How we identified these suspects is the investigators traveled back and forth between Quebec and Ontario and were able to ascertain that these guys were actually coming from Quebec frequently into Ontario to commit these auto thefts. So there's a variety of methods that were used to transport these vehicles back to Quebec. I can tell you that, more than likely these vehicles were not driven all the way back to Quebec, but they would have figured out a method to transport these vehicles discreetly back to Quebec.
Now, police say that they would not tell us where the vehicles were recovered from. Each of the people who were arrested, they say, reside in Quebec. The range in age is from 32 years old all the way down to 19 years old. Many of them also violating parole orders when they were arrested. They say they remain in custody, and they are reminding residents, because car theft is such an issue still, that they are to remain vigilant and protect your car as much as possible. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Nathan and Natalie, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Minor injuries have been reported after a driver crashed into a townhouse in Scarborough. It happened around 9:15 this morning near Warden and St. Clair. The garage door was badly damaged, as well as some of the surrounding bricks. Paramedics say the driver was taken to a local hospital, but the injuries were not serious.
Residents of an encampment in a park near Dufferin and Bloor have released a list of demands to get them to leave willingly. City crews and bylaw enforcement officers were on the scene at Dufferin Grove Park on Wednesday. 7 people camping there were handed trespass notices last week, ordering them to leave by that date. The city said it hopes to refer residents to shelter spaces that meet their needs. Residents this morning say that's not enough.
Demands are very reasonable. It is for permanent housing solutions, and included in that permanent housing that they be a minimum 800 square feet and accessible to them, that they have the right to refuse offers that are not accessible to them or don't work for them in some way, that they not include mandatory sort of regulations or mandatory supports, anything coercive or restrictive like that, and that they are done either through Toronto Community Housing or be RGI, rent geared to income. Thus far, the city has only offered shelters, which is a system that a lot of these residents have already been through.
At this stage, the city hasn't said whether it's planning to clear the park, but Encampment supporters say they intend to turn out if that happens.
More news in a moment, but first let's go outside for a live look at the city on this absolutely beautiful sunny September afternoon. Just a lovely start to the weekend ahead. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Natalie, it is the last official weekend of summer, and we think we found the perfect place to celebrate the changing of the seasons. We are live here at Chudley's in Halton Hills. It is apple picking season, it is farm season, it is harvest season, and we're going to be enjoying it all along with the weather. You know, not long ago we had pretty cloudy skies around the GTA, but now the sun is out and temperatures are on the rise. But I must say, what a difference a day makes. Here's our current conditions around southern Ontario. Do you remember how yesterday it was nearly 30 degrees? Well, right now we are at 19, so a little bit cooler. Here's a look at the current winds. Yeah, there's a light breeze today. We expect that the winds are going to pick up in strength at times this weekend, so that's worth mentioning too. Satellite and radar, some cloud cover has cleared. We are going to enjoy mainly sunny skies through this afternoon, clear skies tonight, and then a pretty great day tomorrow as well. Forecast daytime high 22. That's on the warm side of seasonal, but yes, temperature much closer to where we expect it to be for this time of year. And how about this? We also have a frost advisory that's been issued for parts of Ontario, mainly Peterborough, north and east. But yes, an indication that fall is right around the corner, and fall does arrive on Monday. Nathan and Natalie, coming up, we're going to talk apple picking and get into the orchard ourselves. But for now, I'll send it back inside to you.
Sounds great. Thank you, Lindsay. A Toronto MP says Irish rap group Kneecap has been barred from entering Canada.
It comes as the rap group was set to perform in the city next month. CTV's Allison Hurst is live now with the latest on this. Allison.
Nathan, they were actually set to perform here at History later next month, but yes, today the federal government announced that they are barred from entering the country. The Irish rap group Kneecap has been accused of amplifying political violence and has faced outrage over seeming public support for terrorist organizations such as Hezbollah and Hamas. They had to cancel their U.S. tour earlier this year after a member of the group was charged with a terrorist offense in the UK. Those charges came after videos emerged appearing to show 27-year-old Mo Chara wearing a Hezbollah flag over his head. Both Hezbollah and Hamas are designated terror groups in Britain and Canada. The band, meanwhile, has accused critics of trying to silence them because of their support for the Palestinian cause throughout the war in Gaza.
Effective immediately, the members of Kneecap have been deemed ineligible to enter Canada. Canada stands firmly against hate speech, incitements to violence, and the glorification of terrorism. Political debate and free speech are vital to our democracy, but open endorsements of terrorist groups are not free speech. Our government remains steadfast in protecting all Canadians, and in this instance, Jewish Canadians, from anti-Semitism and hate more broadly.
Kneecap responded just in the last few minutes to the federal government's message, and they put their statement on Instagram, and it reads in part, "Your comments about us are wholly untrue and deeply malicious. We will not accept it. No member of Kneecap has been convicted of any crime in any country ever. Whilst you outrageously try to claim we are anti-Semitic, the Times newspaper in England today wrote of our headline show in London last night as emphatically anti-sectarian. We have today instructed our lawyers to initiate legal action against you." We have been in touch with Gasparo's office about an interview for later today. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Natalie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. The union representing college support workers is holding a day of action at campuses across the province today as they mark more than 1 week on strike. About 10,000 full-time college support staff went on strike last week. OPSU says workers will be joined by hundreds of Labour allies at picket lines today to demand that negotiations resume. The union says workers are seeking better wages, benefits and job security. The College Employer Council argues that meeting the union's demands would cost colleges more than $900 million.
Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles will face a leadership review this weekend as the party holds its annual convention. Party members will gather in Niagara Falls Saturday and Sunday. The mandatory review of her leadership comes just 1 week after a similar vote by the provincial Liberals, which led to Bonnie Crombie resigning as the party's leader. It's been 6 months since the Ford government called a snap election where the NDP finished second, holding on to 27 seats and losing 4 compared to the 2022 vote. Meantime, the race to lead the federal NDP could heat up today. Filmmaker and journalist Avi Lewis is expected to officially announce his intention to run for the party's leadership. Today, Lewis will be the first high-profile name to launch a bid in the race to replace Jagmeet Singh. He previously ran unsuccessfully as a candidate in the 2021 and 2025 elections. Singh resigned as leader after the party was reduced to just 7 seats in the April election. Lewis is married to author, activist, and filmmaker Naomi Klein.
We turn now to allegations of questionable testimony involving police officers. The revelations come after prosecutors pushed to convict a man of first-degree murder for running over a police officer in the Toronto City Hall parkade.
But new documents obtained by CTV News show prosecutors are now taking a different approach, highlighting the actions of the officers on the stand. CTV's John Woodward has the details.
Video evidence played at the trial of Umar Zamir showed the moments before the fatal crash that claimed the life of Constable Jeffrey Northrup in 2021 in the Toronto City Hall parkade. But that video and the forensic evidence didn't match the testimony of the 3 officers who were with Northrup that night at Zamir's 2024 trial for first-degree murder. A mismatch so concerning that Justice Anne Malloy highlighted the jury must consider the possibility the officers had colluded to put an incorrect story on the stand. What Zamir's lawyer said was just a tragic accident.
They got this far, and it was a few inches away, perhaps, from a wrongful conviction.
That's pretty serious, because she thought it was just so far from everything that they'd heard in the case.
At the time, Crown prosecutors pushed for a conviction. But now documents obtained by CTV News show that case was among more than 24 over a 10-year period that were flagged by the Crown. Crown policy requires they report it if a trial Crown becomes aware of credible and reliable information that an officer has been deliberately untruthful under oath. Of the 28 cases in the data, 8 involve the Toronto Police Service, 4 are from the OPP, 2 from Cornwall, Ottawa and York region, and 10 from other forces or ones not identified in the data. The Crown policy is to refer these cases back to the police force where it happened.
When we do have allegations of misconduct, we do take that very seriously. We investigate it. We cooperate with all investigations.
In the Zamir case, the Toronto Police asked the OPP for a review and also is in the midst of doing its own review of its plainclothes rules.
We haven't seen either of those 2 reports appear. Why is that?
The investigation continues.
17 months, too long for John Sewell of the Toronto Police Accountability Coalition.
Where are these reports? Come on now. These officers are still on the job.
The Toronto Police Association says it continues to stand by its officers who went through a traumatic event and is eager for the OPP investigation to be completed. John Woodward, CTV News.
Toronto police have issued a public safety alert over suspected opioid overdoses in the Oakwood Village area. They say they responded to 2 separate fatal incidents near Eglinton and Dufferin on Monday and Tuesday. Police say they are concerned there may be more people who have been sold or given those same drugs. They are advising anyone suffering serious illness after consuming a narcotic to seek treatment immediately.
Police are also asking for your help as they search for a suspect in a stabbing last night. They're looking for this man, 30-year-old Nicholas Benjamin. At around 9 p.m., they say they were called to a home near Bathurst and Finch. Police allege he physically assaulted a victim and then stabbed a second victim when they tried to intervene. Investigators say they believe this was an isolated event, but they're asking anyone with information to get in touch.
The woman sentenced to life in prison in the murder of Stephanie Rengel in East York has once again been granted day parole. Melissa Todorovic will now be allowed to live at a community-based residential facility for 6 months. She must abide by a long list of conditions, including a curfew. Todorovic was previously granted day parole in 2018, but it was revoked the following August when she failed to disclose romantic relationships with 2 men who were on probation. Todorovic, now 33, was 14 years old when she orchestrated the killing of Rengel, who was also 14 at the time, on January 1st, 2008. She was convicted of second-degree murder.
Marches were held across the GTA last night to demand action to end sexual violence. The Take Back the Night organization hosts the annual event across North America. It says sexual violence is getting worse, and the systems meant to protect people are failing survivors. According to the group, 1 in 3 women worldwide experience sexual or intimate partner violence, and 1 in 6 men face sexual violence.
Many survivors don't speak out because there's not a space to speak out. And I think certainly having this movement every year with Take Back the Night, you know, we are all able to come together as a community, as service providers, to stand with folks who are in need of services and support and safe space.
Take Back the Night marches were held in Mississauga, Halton, York, and Durham. Late-night television hosts using a mix of comedy, satire, and seriousness the day after Disney's suspension of Jimmy Kimmel over his comments about Charlie Kirk and President Trump.
My name is Jon Stewart, and welcome to The Daily Show on, I'm going to guess, Monday. I don't know. We have another fun, hilarious, administration-compliant show.
Jon Stewart among the hosts beginning their shows addressing the news. Earlier this week, ABC suspended the Jimmy Kimmel Show indefinitely after Kimmel pointed out that MAGA supporters were using Kirk's killing to score political points. And CTV's Scott Hurst has been following the fallout and joins us now with the latest. Scott, what more are you hearing about this Kimmel being pulled off the air?
Nathan, a whole lot of polarizing reaction in the wake of Jimmy Kimmel being suddenly pulled off the airwaves. Of course, the American comic, very familiar to a Canadian audience. He had been in that time slot for many years. Let's walk it back a little bit and talk about how we got here, as well as the ongoing reaction that we are hearing. The Federal Communications Commission saying in the wake of his comments it would take action, and now potentially probing other programs that have been critical of U.S. President Donald Trump, namely ABC's daytime show The View. Also, large media companies which operate ABC affiliates right across the country were saying they would stop running the program over comments they believe to be offensive and insensitive. Of course, U.S. President Donald Trump also taking to social media saying Kimmel was in fact fired for his lack of talent. But for those who are outraged by the indefinite suspension, it has triggered a lot of debate from supporters of the show, in particular about free speech and censorship, even on this side of the border, and late-night comedians banding together in the wake of the fallout. Here's more from what they had to say on their late-night comedy shows last night.
And to Jimmy, just let me say, I stand with you and your staff 100%. It is so bizarre to see an American president weighing in so vehemently on TV shows. It reminds me when Reagan said this.
Mr. Gorbachev, cancel the Golden Girls.
To be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on. And no one does. But I do know Jimmy Kimmel. And he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.
I've always admired and respected Mr. Trump. I've always believed he was, a visionary, innovator, a great president, an even better golfer. And if you've ever seen me say anything negative about him, that's just AI.
Now, all of this taking place as U.S. President Donald Trump was in the United Kingdom meeting with the royal family, the king, and also the prime minister as well, Keir Starmer. And on his way back on Air Force One, making comments, really doubling down on his reaction, saying broadcasters should risk losing their license if hosts criticized him, but downplayed the concerns over freedom of speech and ultimately applauding ABC for making this move. Here's what the U.S. president had to say.
That's something that should be talked about for licensing, too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party.
And Nathan, we also heard from former U.S. President Barack Obama on social media slamming the decision, accusing the Trump White House of taking cancel culture to a new and dangerous level. Once again, that's from the former U.S. President Barack Obama. While Jimmy Kimmel has not been officially fired, Nathan, right now it's unclear if he will in fact return to the airwaves and return to his old time slot.
All right, we'll find out. CTV Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Well, Canada will formally negotiate with the U.S. and Mexico next year on the Continental Trade Agreement. And today, Ottawa announced that it's beginning consultations in preparation for the planned review.
Later today, we're announcing formally the beginning of the Canadian consultative process with Canadian industry, businesses, workers, obviously provinces and territories, in the preparation of the review of the CUSMA agreement. It's a domestic process that's important to inform the latest views of Canadian industry and workers as we prepare for those conversations with the United States and Mexico.
There's an ongoing dialogue as well, cross-border. So delegations of Senate representatives, House representatives have been engaging with government representatives to ensure that the dialogue that is going to occur formally now has already begun.
An exemption for goods compliant with the trade agreement has shielded Canada to a degree from U.S. tariffs. But sectoral duties still exist in the steel, aluminum, auto, and softwood lumber industries. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is returning home after signing a far-reaching agreement in Mexico yesterday.
And our agreement today will expand and deepen that partnership so that the next 30 years hold even greater promise than the last 30 years have delivered. Today, we're beginning a new era of elevated cooperation with a comprehensive strategic partnership. We will scale up our engagement in foreign affairs, in trade and investment, in agriculture, natural resources, in energy, finance, health, the environment, and public safety and security.
Carney and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum emphasized the new deal will complement the existing trade agreement between Canada, Mexico, and the U.S.
Overseas, 3 Russian fighter jets violated the airspace of Estonia without permission today and stayed there for 12 minutes. The NATO member has summoned a Russian diplomat to protest the action. Just over a week ago, NATO planes downed Russian drones over Poland. It was the most serious cross-border incident involving a NATO country since the war in Ukraine began. Estonia says Moscow has violated its airspace 4 times this year, but insists today's incursion was extremely brazen. To Ottawa now, where Prime Minister Mark Carney's government will reportedly introduce a bill proposing new hate-related criminal code offences to protect places of worship, religious or cultural buildings and schools. The new bill would make it easier for law enforcement to lay hate-related charges with 3 new criminal code offences, including a willful intimidation offence, a standalone hate offence, and an obstruction offence. This comes after StatsCan data indicated that hate crimes reported to police have almost doubled since 2020. CTV's Jeremy Charron joins us live with the latest on this. Jeremy, what are we expecting to hear from the Justice Minister this afternoon?
Yeah, look, Natalie, this is, a bill that will be introduced that is aiming to, as you've touched on, add 3 new criminal code offenses and very clearly define hate in the criminal code. And so it focuses kind of on 3 aspects, these 3 hate-related criminal code offenses, the first being willful intimidation. The idea here is to stop people from intimidating individuals who are making their way into an identifiable, a building that belongs to an identifiable group. So, of course, that could mean faith groups, religious buildings into somewhere where people are going to pray, but also, could apply to, a building that is used for a certain group of people, let's say people from the LGBTQ2S+ community. So any identifiable group could be, is the intended target here when it comes to protecting people accessing these places and not being able to be intimidated on their way into these facilities. The second is for obstruction, of course, and this is specifically, to stop protesters or groups of people from blocking access to a building that is being used by an identifiable group. Once again, that is how it's going to be defined in the law in terms of an identifiable group. That way, this applies to a much wider range of people, not just religious centers or churches or whatever the case may be, synagogues, mosques. This is legislation that aims to target a wide variety of groups. And the third being maybe the most impactful one or transformational piece of this legislation. And it looks to add a new standalone hate crime offense through the criminal code. The idea is to make it easier for law enforcement to actually charge someone with a hate crime, and it will define what a hate crime is in the criminal code. That does not currently exist. This is a charge that would have to be triggered by something else. It couldn't be a standalone charge on its own, but could be added to any other charge that someone may be facing in the case where, by definition, they meet the criteria of hate when it comes to what motivated the crime that was committed. So this really is, the government says, and I'm told, is a way to empower law enforcement and to make it easier for law enforcement to lay hate crime charges, because in some aspects it can be very difficult to actually, right now, the way the law is structured, lay a hate crime. You need an approval and a request from a provincial level official to move forward with hate crimes, laying hate crimes. And so the idea here is to make it a lot easier. And in a sense, Natalie, this is kind of in a way at the federal level doing what some municipalities have done, like in Toronto, with bubble zone bylaws. There are a lot of similarities between what the federal government is trying to do here through the criminal code and what some cities have done through bylaws at the municipal level.
That's an excellent point. What kind of support does the government have for this proposed legislation, and in terms of timeline, when could this proposed bill become law?
Yeah, look, I mean, it'll have to make its way through the House of Commons just like any other piece of legislation, right? So this will be a process. But what we've seen and what you've touched on is a significant increase in hate crimes. Since 2022, hate crimes being reported to police have nearly doubled. I think it's widely expected there will be support for the idea behind this legislation across the board in the House of Commons. I think where we could see delays is whether or not, the law that is being proposed or the new legislation that's being proposed is strong enough or is missing components that some, opposing parties or critics will want to add. I think you will see pretty unanimous support for the idea behind this this proposal, although it doesn't mean we may not see some kind of amendments, some kind of changes as it makes its way through the House of Commons.
Okay, thank you for that. Jeremy Sharon reporting in the nation's capital.
The Michelin Guide announced its 2025 selections, recognizing the best restaurants in Toronto and surrounding area. Restaurant Pearl Morissette has been promoted to 2 stars, while Akin received its first Michelin star. Akin offers a 10-course modern Asian tasting menu, and its chef is Master Chef Canada winner Eric Chong.
Honestly, this is it's surreal, because for the longest time since I became a professional chef, I told my wife on our first date I want to become a Michelin-starred chef. And today is finally the day where I can prove her that I'm worthy of her.
Overall, the updated guide features 106 restaurants and 31 cuisine types. Sunday's restaurant in Uxbridge joins the Michelin ranks with a green star for their efforts in what they call sustainable gastronomy. All right, let's...
Well, it is a big day here at Chudley's. The Honeycrisp apples are ready for picking, and it is an absolutely beautiful day here in the Apple Rose. We've got clear skies, we've got comfortable temperatures, and as we make our way into the evening hours tonight, well, we're going to be enjoying much of the same. Yes, it is a little bit cooler today compared to the last couple of days, but that's okay. I think many were ready for the change. Your evening at a glance looks quite lovely, and as we take a look at what you can expect into the weekend, if you're maybe headed to a campground or a cottage, it's a great weekend to enjoy that. Might get into a little bit of wet weather before Sunday is finished, but you might also see some fall colors starting to pop up on the trees. We are live here at Chudley's in Halton Hills, celebrating the final weekend of summer and beginning of fall. We have a full look at your 7-day forecast coming up here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, back to the forecast. Not as hot as yesterday. It feels more like a nice fall day, doesn't it?
It is a perfect day for apple picking, I would suspect, Linz. And I know even if you're not in the market for apples, there's a fantastic slide there at Chudley's. There are wagon rides. Just a beautiful Friday to be there, I'm sure.
And Natalie and Nathan, there are so many farms across southern Ontario where you can enjoy something just like this. But, you know, I grew up in Halton region and I came to Chudley's as a kid. And now here I am as an adult. I still love apple picking. This is Scott Chudley, one of the Chudley brothers. Thanks for having us out. It's apple picking season. This is a big few weeks for you guys.
Oh, boy. Yeah, we wait for this for a long time. Yep.
Yeah.
We're ready for you.
And I mean, the weather is cooperating. It's a little more comfortable today than it was yesterday, but we're starting to sweat under this sun. All of a sudden, the day has improved. It's been a very hot and dry summer. How does the weather impact the taste of the apples?
Well, we have irrigation here for the summertime, so the dryness is not really a big factor for us. But right now, we need hot days and cold nights. That's what makes the apple taste fantastic and brings out the color. So cold nights, hot days, that's what we want from you, okay?
Okay, I'm going to try my best here. And one apple that's particularly sweet in more ways than one, the Honey Crisp. And you're going to give us a little demo on how to properly pick an apple.
Sure, yeah, you can damage a tree if you don't do it correctly.
Okay.
And we have a little rhyme that's called turn the eye, which is the bottom of the apple, to the sky. As soon as you do that, the little cork layer there breaks and you have an apple to take home.
I'm using my left hand, but let's try.
Yep, that's it.
Did I do okay?
You
There we go. Oh, I got a couple of the leaves. I'm so sorry. But this looks absolutely
That's your wrong
delicious.
hand.
Oh, it was the wrong hand. Exactly. Tell us what people can do if they want to come out to Chudley's. Apple picking will go on for many weeks from here. What can people, families enjoy if they come on out?
For sure, apple picking is a big part of it. And Honey Crisp, this is the first weekend, but they'll be on the trees here for weeks until after Thanksgiving. So you don't need to rush out at any time. But there's tractor wagons, there's hay areas. We have concerts at night on Fridays and Saturdays. So there's tons to do. Apple picking is just a part of it.
And these farms are very busy, very popular at this time of year. So to ensure no one's disappointed, it's best to buy tickets online.
You have to buy tickets online. Yeah, we just get so overcrowded if you don't. You'll get a little time slot, but don't come here without a ticket because it just gets too crowded.
Well, anyone coming this weekend, in my opinion, is in luck because the weather is looking very nice as we officially say goodbye to summer and hello to fall. Let's get to your forecast. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. It is warm out here today. It is not quite as hot as yesterday. What a difference. You know, we made it to a high of 30 degrees yesterday, or very close to it. And today we're at 20 now. So that's a 10-degree difference. I think for many, it's a nice change of pace. 22 degrees right now in Windsor. Look at Sudbury, though, only 10. There's a look at today's forecast daytime highs. 20 is our seasonal norm. So we're going to be a little bit warmer than that today, which is still nice. Into tomorrow, slightly cooler than that. And boy, has it been nice to see the cloud cover clear from this morning. We've got mainly sunny skies today. Overnight tonight, clear skies are expected once again. A northeast wind, light in nature. We will see the winds pick up in strength a little bit as we continue through the weekend. And I do want to mention again that there is the possibility of frost in some parts of southern Ontario tonight. More so eastern and central Ontario, I should clarify, but around Peterborough, Parry Sound, Haliburton, over toward the Algonquin area. Just be mindful if you do have any plants that may be susceptible to frost damage, you'll want to take preventative measures tonight to prepare for that tomorrow. Let's talk about tomorrow's high, 19 degrees. So again, slightly on the cool side of seasonal, but not too bad. As we take a closer look at what we can expect ongoing here, yeah, not a lot of active weather heading into the weekend. Chance of wet weather as the weekend progresses, though. I'm keeping an eye on a low pressure system well to our west. A few showers are going to be possible perhaps by late day on Sunday and into Monday. We need some wet weather. It has been a dry week. It's been hot as well. There's our forecast radar in motion. Let me see if I can get to our 7-day forecast just to show you what else is in store as we make our way through the next week. And what I want to point out, Natalie and Nathan reason is the fact that temperatures are going to feel a little more like summer as we officially welcome fall, and we remain quite mild through much of next week. We are live here at Chudley's enjoying some apple picking. It's a great way to kick off the weekend. For now, though, I'll send it back inside to you.
Looks so good. Thank you, Lindsay. Looks great. Well, there's some transit disruptions to keep in mind as we head into the weekend. GO trains on the Lakeshore East Line will only be running between Union and Pickering to allow for track work. The change affects trips departing after midnight tonight and then through all of Saturday and Sunday. Shuttle buses will run instead, and regular service will resume in time for Monday's commute. And here in the city, TTC riders will have to navigate a major subway closure in the West End. There won't be any service on Line 2 tomorrow between Kipling and Keele. It's so signal work can get done, but shuttle buses will be running. Runnymede and High Park stations will also be closed all weekend.
Still to come this hour, how expensive laser technology is being used to remove prostate blockages. A former patient makes a massive donation to the hospital that treated him to help streamline success for others. One man's personal health journey has inspired him to spearhead the donation of an expensive piece of equipment to Mackenzie Health.
CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more on how it will make a difference.
Hey, Ed. Good to see you. Thanks.
A year ago, Ed O'Brien was exploring his options to be treated for benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, a common non-cancerous condition in which the prostate enlarges and starts blocking the flow of urine. It can cause patients to have to wake frequently to go to the bathroom and can even lead to kidney or bladder infections.
Ed, in an ideal world, I'd be doing a surgery with the morcelator next week for you. And I said, okay, well, let's do that. And he goes, well, we don't have a morcelator.
Dr. Michael Kogan says traditional treatment usually involves creating a path through the blockage.
It's almost like coring an apple. You make it a hole down the middle, but the problem is all that tissue can grow back and block the path.
O'Brien had to have surgery that left him with an 8-inch scar and 3 months of recuperation.
The worst part of the whole thing was having the catheter for so long. I had a catheter for almost 10 weeks. And there's nothing worse.
It inspired him to think of how to give back to the hospital that has taken care of him and his family for so many years. It was his donation that led to the purchase of a $250,000 morcelator, with the Paul B. Hellawell Foundation matching the community's dollars. Instead of boring through the prostate, a laser is used to remove the blockage and push the tissue into the bladder. The morcelator breaks up that chunk of tissue so it can easily be removed.
Because you get rid of all of the tissue, the chance of ever needing another procedure done is almost zero, or it's very low. With this procedure, people will either be day surgery or sometimes an overnight stay in hospital, and the catheter comes out the next day. So it's really a game changer.
Why don't more hospitals have this device?
It's a combination of cost. You need to be able to purchase an expensive device, and there's also a training side to this as well.
Ed says he's just glad that no other patients with BPH will have to go through unnecessary hardship.
I feel great about it. I really do.
Ed O'Brien hasn't yet seen the device that he helped to purchase, but it's already been in use at Mackenzie Richmond Hill since April, helping dozens of new patients. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Public health officials have issued a warning about potential measles exposures in Toronto and Vaughan. York Region Public Health says someone with a confirmed case was at Kids Club Toronto, a shoe store north of Bathurst and Lawrence, on September 12th. That individual was then at Cortellucci Vaughan Hospital's emergency room the evening of September 15th to the morning of September 16th. Officials say anyone who believes they may have been exposed should check their vaccination status and monitor for symptoms for 21 days. Those at higher risk are advised to check if they are eligible for treatment to prevent measles infection. And as respiratory virus season approaches, the province has set the dates for its fall vaccine rollout. COVID shots will be available to eligible high-risk groups starting the week of September 22nd, flu shots the following week. Then, as of October 27th, both vaccines will be offered for free to the general public. Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran Moore, says staying up to date on immunizations helps people protect themselves, families, and loved ones.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
We have more now on a story we told you about earlier in the newscast. Canada's Justice Minister has now spoken after tabling an anti-hate crime bill in the House of Commons.
Sadly, there is no community that is immune from hate in this country. There are violent attacks against Black Canadians, rising anti-Asian hate. We see Gurdwaras and mandirs vandalized, and the LGBTQ2+ community threatened with and suffering violence all too often.
The new bill will make it easier for law enforcement to lay hate crime charges with 3 new criminal code offenses. They include a willful intimidation offense, a standalone hate offense, and an obstruction offense. This comes after StatsCan data indicated hate crimes reported to police have almost doubled since 2020.
The province is offering up funding to help construction workers train their potential future colleagues. $1.5 million will go toward training 100 experienced construction workers on how to become mentors. They will then help train others in emerging home construction technologies and modern building practices. The mentees will include recent graduates and those considered at risk of job displacement. Labour Minister David Piccini says the investment will help open doors to good-paying jobs, building more housing in Ontario communities. Well, many Canadian small businesses are facing new challenges because of rising costs and trade tensions with the U.S.
Now, the Competition Bureau has launched a market study to make sure companies are being treated fairly by Canada's big banks. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
Millions of Canadians are employed at small businesses, and every day they create goods and services to keep Canada's economy moving forward. According to the Competition Bureau, small businesses, which account for 1 to 99 employees, make up 98% of all businesses in Canada.
The current trade environment obviously puts us in a situation where competition is here at home is more important than ever.
The Bureau has launched a market study into how small businesses are treated, especially by Canada's major lenders. There are concerns because the lending sector is dominated by big banks. New or smaller lenders may face barriers to entry. Switching between lenders can be challenging, and small businesses face higher borrowing costs than larger firms. A small business needs access to loans to grow and stay afloat.
There are some signs that they're facing some persistent challenges in terms of their access to competitive financing terms.
The cost of getting a loan has always been higher for smaller companies. They are seen as bigger risks.
Business groups say small companies face added scrutiny trying to get loans, and as bank branches close, there are fewer chances for face-to-face interactions. With current trade tensions and a slowing economy, many are concerned about their future.
The optimism is definitely down. I think people are a little worried. Those that are directly impacted by tariffs are particularly having a tough time.
It's managing things week to week, month to month, and getting through it. It is a game of survival for a lot of these small businesses.
Merchant Growth provides financing for small businesses and says it can step in to help companies that may not be able to get loans from a traditional lender.
What we're able to do is make it so fast that a business owner can apply in the morning, get funded by the evening, and that time savings is very valuable.
The Bureau's market study will concentrate mostly on term loans. Businesses can take part in the study by going to the Bureau's website to provide feedback. The deadline to take part is October 3rd. Pat Foran, CTV News.
In sports, the Toronto Blue Jays look to move closer to an American League East title tonight when they start a series in Kansas City.
Carson Williams gets into one, hits it a long way to left and way out of here.
The Jays have a 3-game lead in the AL East after yesterday's loss to Tampa Bay. Toronto's magic number to clinch a playoff berth remains at 3. Max Scherzer gets the start for the Jays this evening against the Royals.
Ed Sheeran has announced more tour dates, including shows here in Toronto. The singer-songwriter dropped his album Play last week and teased he was coming to North America. Now we know he'll bring the Loop Tour to this continent, starting with shows in Arizona in June. He'll be performing 2 nights at Rogers Centre next August. Should be good.
And let's go back out to say hi to Lindsay at Chudley's Apple Orchard. Before we go, Lindsay, how is the Honeycrisp picking going?
Okay, so Natalie, Nathan, I redeemed myself and I picked an apple properly. It came off the tree much easier the second time with my right hand. So just wanted to show you that. But of course, we're having a wonderful time here at Chudley's. It's not just the orchard that you can enjoy. It's the animals. It's the tractor rides. There's food. There's music. And there are so many farms just like this around southern Ontario where you can enjoy things like this weekend. I love this time of year. Speaking of which, let's take one more look at your weather. Overnight tonight, temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler than they've been, hence why Environment Canada has issued a frost advisory for areas north and east of here. Your weekend forecast looks pretty good. We're going to warm up a little bit again into the day on Sunday. There is a chance of some late day wet weather, and that could follow us into Monday. A reminder, we officially welcome the fall season midday Monday, 2:19 p.m. We say goodbye to summer and hello to fall. Here's one more look at the 7-day forecast. It's been a wonderful time here at Chudley's in Halton Hills. Nathan and Natalie, I'll send it back over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching. I'm Natalie Johnson.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.